What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel.
What color's the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel.
Dr. Fauci pleading the Fifth during the Senate's COVID hearing over 100 times, with questions like, what day of the week is it? What color of the tie you're wearing? And even though Fauci received a blanket pardon from then President Joe Biden, Hawley's saying today that's grounds for prosecution.
The invocation of the Fifth Amendment, particularly in a context where immunity has already been obtained. In that context, the assertion of a Fifth Amendment privilege only adheres to those instances where the witness has a reasonable fear of future prosecution, and it must be tailored to any such fear. Senator Paul asked him about, did he have a folder in front of him? He wouldn't answer that. Betrays the fact that his invocation of the Fifth Amendment wasn't tailored to anything. And the United States Supreme Court has been clear for over a century, dating back to 1896, that when a witness has received immunity, he may not stand upon his privilege. A witness must reasonably believe that his statements could be used in criminal prosecution or could lead to other evidence that might be so used. The court has also said that the danger must be real and appreciable. It must not be one of imaginary and unsubstantial character. All that to say that I think it's pretty clear, given Dr. Fauci's 111 invocations of the Fifth Amendment, including the questions that he could have no fear of prosecution on. He's not going to get prosecuted for the color of his tie. Shows that he had no interest and no intention of answering any of our questions, and that is an abuse of the privilege. There's no privilege for any of that.
The Senate Homeland Security Committee voting today to hold Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress. Republican and Senator Chairman Rand Paul referring the matter directly to the Justice Department.
We will hand carry this over to the Attorney General. We will hand carry this to the District Court here in Columbia.
This as Florida's Attorney General now subpoenas Dr. Fauci over apparent self-dealing during the COVID pandemic. Let's welcome Texas Congressman Chip Roy from the House Judiciary Committee. All right, Senator Hawley, he made a good argument, don't you think? Or is there a flaw in his argument? And do you think the Justice Department, what will they do with these allegations?
Jason, great to be on the show and great to see you. I think what we have here is a very clear indication that Dr. Fauci is more fearful about damaging his reputation than doing what he should be doing to try to illuminate what happened during COVID for the American people. That's exactly what Dr. Senator Paul is saying in pursuing these contempt charges. And I think this was correct. I think the Senate got it right. And I do hope the Department of Justice will take action. I know that Senator Paul will deliver it to them. I know that Vice President Vance can take action as the president of the Senate. But I think what's important for everybody to understand is no one had as broad of immunity as Dr. Fauci did. The only person that did was basically Hunter Biden. Joe Biden gave him a massive amount of immunity. So he didn't have anything to hide from. That's the actual truth, unless it's about his reputation. He is free to be able to say whatever the truth is without being worried about any kind of criminal prosecution. But instead, he wants to stonewall the American people from knowing the truth, because it was always about reputation. It was always about arrogance. It was always about the cocktail circuit and wanting to be able to be on Vanity Fair or whatever magazine he was on. And now he's caught. So he's trying to hide behind the Fifth Amendment. And I think Dr. Paul is correct to call him out for it.
Interesting note here. During the Benghazi investigation, the Department of Justice gave 5 people in the Hillary Clinton's circle, in her orbit, they gave her immunity. And many of them, not all of them, came in and actually testified because they had immunity. Now, a prophylactic measure of a pardon is different than immunity. But it does show that you could still come in and testify. That's what happened, during the Obama administration. Even CNN didn't discount Chairman Rand Paul and Josh Hawley's argument. Listen to this first, and I want you to comment on all of it.
There is a legal doctrine, Wolf, called waiver, and that means once a person has testified about a specific subject, he cannot then take the fifth when he's questioned about that same subject. You can't say your piece and then when you're questioned say, oh, but I take the fifth now. And so Senator Paul's argument is when Dr. Fauci last week gave his opening statement, that essentially opened the door and he can't then take the fifth after he gave that opening statement. But this is something that I'm sure will be litigated in the upcoming weeks. Josh Hawley was trying to do there, though, was sort of illustrate the absurdity of taking the fifth all across the board.
Congressman, what's your take on all that?
Well, I think it's a good point. I mean, the fact is, if Dr. Fauci wanted to, he could have answered a whole bunch of questions, again, for the good of country. And instead, he's choosing to try to protect his reputation. He could have answered, say, 80% of the questions and said, you know what, I'm not going to answer that question on advice of counsel for some specific reason. And then everybody could have kind of reviewed that. But that's not what he did. It was a blanket to hide behind the Fifth Amendment because he doesn't want to crack the door at all. And what really bothers me about that, Jason, is he's been a public servant for 40 plus years. And he likes to tout that. He should be standing up for the American people at 85 years old to leave a legacy of truth so we can never have what happened under COVID happen again. So I applaud Dr. Paul. I hope they pursue it. I think the House should do the same.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting the more they unearth, especially with the revelations that there's now a phone in play. That could, between the diary and the phone, there could be a lot more coming our way. Congressman Chip Roy, the great state of Texas, thanks so much for joining us. All right, now listen to this.
Good to see you, Jason.